Audrey?
Oh, yeah, I can definitely talk and talk. This is so fun.
This is really fun.
You're watching The DM with celeb stylist Audrey Brianne and fashion publicist Tyree Robinson. We're in season 3 of our podcast where we review the best in costume design in film and TV.
We'll now feature live episodes with costume designers and stylists here at Room Service in Beverly Center.
Today's guest is a close friend, mentor, and well-known fashion publicist to Mike Vargas. Mike is best known as the former West Coast VP of Kelly Catrone's public relations agency, People's Revolution. He's secured celebrity red carpet and editorial placements for some of the biggest stylists and publications in the world. He also frequently works at New York Fashion Week as a creative director. Some of the brands that he's helped launch are Sass & Bide, Mara Hoffman, Jeremy Scott, Ksubi, and many, many more. Thank you so much, Mikey, for joining us today.
Excited to talk to you.
Can you start with letting our audience know a little bit more about you and what it is that you do?
So I am a branding, marketing, event production professional. I've been doing this for close to 20 years now.
He's a juggernaut.
Focusing a lot on emerging brands. Every phase of launching a brand, from design consultation, sample runs, the traditional PR, celebrity placement, all of it.
So why fashion PR? Like, did it find you or did you find it?
A little bit of a happy happenstance.
Yeah.
I actually went to school for PR. I got a communications degree with an emphasis in public relations, and what I wanted to do with that was actually go into film.
Yeah.
Wanted to kind of find something that mixed like the advertising world with the marketing world, like get the creative side of it all. And so PR is kind of sort of where I landed. Initially, I wanted to go into the film world just because grew up in LA, born and raised here, so kind of like was kind of the logical path to take. Worked at DreamWorks for a very short time right out of school, getting coffees for a lot of important people.
But at DreamWorks, like, it's a big deal.
Yeah. And then it just wasn't what I thought it would be.
Yeah.
So I wanted to be more involved in the creative process for brands. And so through a mutual friend, Jenny Daco, who's already working for Fret Siegel Beauty at the time, which was a artist rep agency. And after small gigs here and there in fashion, I ended up at People's Revolution as their showroom manager. And this is a long line, dating myself, but yeah, like early 2000s,
Yeah.
Like the hype of...
But that's when I met you, so...
But, it was all about like celebrity branding, Paris and Lindsay and all those girls walking out of Kitson with like the bags,
Yes.
So it
I
was
love
kind
that
of
era.
like the initial launch of that kind of like celebrity power behind the brand. So I've been doing it for quite some time, and it's been a fun ride.
What's been one of the most memorable events that you've worked at?
So probably the first one that I did when I was at People's Revolution. Most memorable just because it was the first one that I did, and it was such an incredibly very like A-list event. We did at the time, Absolute Vodka was doing a lot of collaboration with designers. And so we were part of the launch of Stella McCartney for Absolute Vodka.
That's so cool.
So it was a huge event, A-list designer, A-list talent attending. you know, that night I got to meet Tom Ford through Jeremy Scott, which to me
so
is kind of
handsome.
sort of that's my celebrity world is kind of sort of in the designer world for sure. And just said, for, you know, someone right out of college kind of sort of and jumping into the event PR branding industry and being involved in such an incredible event was pretty memorable.
That segues like right into my next question, because I wanted to know, you work with such like heavy hitters in this industry. Do you get starstruck either by the entertainers or the designers? Like, is there ever that moment where it's just kind of like pinch me?
For me, it's definitely more on the design side. You know, for me, like seeing like a Tom Brown or a Diane von Furstenberg at Fashion Week in New York, or even like the editors, like seeing Grace or Mr. Edward from Vogue UK. It's such a like thrilling, like, oh my God, the greats are here. With celebrity, it's a little bit different because I think being in the industry and kind of sort of being part of the trajectory of some of these big celebrities now, you kind of lose that like
luster.
Yeah, you kind of like follow them along their like career path, and so you know it's not as like, I mean it's exciting for sure, but it's not as thrilling. I don't think.
Well, you're telling us a lot about like the great things, but what are some common misconceptions about fashion PR?
So it's not glamorous, and I think as a stylist, I mean you as a publicist yourself, I think you know it's not glamorous. Like we get to experience all these like cool things, but there's so much work that goes into putting even to like a small lunch for a brand or you know it's a lot of work. It's a lot of like, and I hope things have changed a little bit now for the industry, but you know, like for me back in the day, it was like you know, I remember one season we did 20 shows in New York, and I moved into my boss's like apartment, sleeping in her daughter's like princess bed for a month, being up at 9 a.m, staying up till 2-3 a.m, reaching out to press, seating charts, model castings, music. I mean, it's not glamorous. You know what I mean? Like, I think TV has made it glamorous, but like the actual work that goes into any sort of activation for a brand is exhausting. You know, just fashion shows themselves for that 10-15 minutes, the amount of production that goes in before that, it's months and months and months of work. So it's an industry for the youth.
It is. You're already talking about it, so can I just dive a little deeper? I wanted to know, like, what's the most and least rewarding part of Fashion Month?
So okay.
Stumped you.
The least rewarding, I mean, it's very rewarding leading up to that moment where like the first model's like walking out, and then as soon as like the last one comes back in, it's like, that's it. Because so much work goes into it that for like that 10 minutes, you're like, it's so beautiful, and seeing these like girls and the clothes kind of come to life, and it's really, you're like, yes, you know. But then it's also like, fuck, all that for like 10-12 minutes of that. It's a little sad, I think. Not that it's not rewarding, but it's a little like, fuck, it's over.
Because it's short. Like fashion shows go by like that. You blink and you're like, wait, I didn't see look number 12.
I mean, you know, you start production like months ahead. And even like the hours leading up to it, it's such a like, you know, you can't really you're like waiting to breathe, and then it happens so fast, and
Yeah.
you're like, oh. So yeah, but it's beautiful. I mean,
Yeah.
it's such a beautiful thing to like be part of and witness and create.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it gets kind of emotional sometimes. Like
Oh, for
I've cried
sure.
before at shows
I've
just because
cried.
like either
Yeah.
it's so beautiful or because I've been part of the behind the scenes and know all the like
Yeah.
work that's gone into it.
Yeah.
So PR is a lot of outreach, building relationships, a lot of follow-up. Have you ever been afraid of the word no?
Well, you kind of learn that that's gonna happen a lot, like early on, like very early on.
Yeah.
I think as a publicist, you kind of learn that you're gonna hit a lot of walls
Yeah.
when it comes to, especially pitching stories. Like, you know, you might go after 10,000 people, and out of the 10,000, you'll get 100 back.
Yeah.
So you do come. I mean, you have to be very tough.
Yeah.
And kind of know that when you're stepping into this industry, you're gonna come across a lot of that. for
Are
sure.
you the type that comes back though sometimes? Like, does a no stop you, or are there times where you're like, cool, so who else do I go to get a yes?
You kind of have to. Well, the way I was brought up professionally was not the healthiest.
That's one way of saying it.
So it was like you get it done or you don't have a job. So
Yeah.
you figured out a way to get that placement,
That is cutthroat.
or you know, find that like avenue that's
Yeah.
gonna get you results.
All right.
So yeah, you have to be quick on your feet and figure
Yeah.
out like where. Okay, well, if this led nowhere, like what path can I take
Yeah.
to get either a placement or a celebrity to sign on to something, or you know, whatever
Yeah.
the activation is. You figure it out.
What I figured is like, it's like I look at it as a door, and if they shut the door, it's like, okay, can I go under, around, over? Like, what way can I get through this door, even though like
Yeah.
it's shut?
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta be
yeah.
really on your feet about it.
Gotta be. Yeah. Yes.
So that kind of segues to my next question. Is there a lot of personal belief with these brands that you work with, or what ideas do you take on taking on a new brand, or like working with clients you've already established?
So that is, yeah, well, it really depends. I think a lot of PR companies have to keep the lights on, right? So you take on brands that you don't necessarily believe in, but you have to pay the bills.
Yeah.
And so to make up for that, so you want to believe in the brands.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. So if it's a smaller, up and coming, emerging brand that you really believe in, and you're like, all right, I think this is something that can really make an impact in the industry, but they have no money. So then you have to balance that out by working with someone who maybe you don't necessarily believe in as much, but
Yeah.
that you know is going to help you keep the lights on.
Yeah.
So it's tricky because for me, my experience with my own agency when I had it was that I was too focused on those smaller brands that had no money
Yeah.
and didn't have that balance of like bigger brands who could pay that big retainer to keep the lights on.
Yeah.
You know, so
Sounds like it's a juggling act
Yeah.
between like what you have to do to get the like keep the lights on, and then the passion ones where you like really care a lot
absolutely.
about it.
yeah, because you know, like a brand, a newer emerging brand isn't gonna have that like $5,000 retainer
Yeah.
that, you know, a beauty company who's just like trying to get product on some faces
Yeah.
has. So it's a very like fine line, but I think personally I would love to believe in everything that I'm pushing, because I feel like that speaks to my like, if I have a relationship with a stylist that I've been working with for 20 years and I'm bringing them like this crappy brand, they're gonna be like, what is this? You know,
Yeah.
like we know your level, we
Yeah.
know your.
There's like a caliber that
Yeah.
you gotta like
Yeah,
keep
yeah.
going. I'm curious because you're talking about like it's kind of getting spiritual in here, but I wanted to know like how do you take care of Mike at the end of the day? Like because this is so whirlwind, there's so much going on. How do you make sure that like you're tuning into yourself and
Yeah.
checking in?
I think it definitely comes with age. You know, again, starting in the industry so young and having so much access to so many things, like you go for it, you know, like
Yeah.
going to New York for shows and being out all night and then like doing it all over again with
Yeah.
whatever it took. Then, yeah, that was great. But, you know, as you kind of grow out of that, you find ways to actually like disconnect from it and really focus on growing yourself
Yeah.
a little bit more.
No, I
Yeah.
agree. Like as I get older in this, like, because like you said, I would burn from both
Yeah.
ends, and thought that was the way to do it, was to hustle,
Yeah.
to be overbooked. Like that was success. And as you get older, you realize that like, yeah, there's like a point where like you need to be busy, but it's like you got to be okay when you go home. Like at the
Yeah.
end of the day, you got to be able to like know that you're a good person doing the right thing. So, no, I totally get it.
And I also think it's important to like have that separation of like your work life and your
Yeah.
professional life. You know, I tried doing like work from home for a bit, and that was just like
Not having
it just
it.
didn't stop because it's
Yeah.
like basically you wake up, roll out of
Yeah.
bed, and you're like on the phone,
Yeah.
and you know till you put it down, and then you wake up, pick it up. So it was such a 24/7 thing that I'm like, this isn't working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. That wraps up our Q&A with Mike Vargas. We will be back with a game of This or That. The DM is hosted in partnership with Room Service at Beverly Center, LA's premier shopping and lifestyle destination in the heart of the city. Room Service is a first of its kind private members club designed to elevate the shopping and dining experience for LA's influential creators, VIPs, stylists, and costume designers.
Membership includes complimentary valet and self-parking at Beverly Center, access to a unique and stylish member lounge, private conference and fitting rooms, and complimentary amenities such as steamers, rolling racks, snacks, and beverages.
To learn more about Room Service membership, follow us on Instagram and click the link in the bio, or visit www.beverlycenter.com. We're gonna play a game of This or That. The first option is gonna be this, and then the second option is gonna be that. And if you can't decide, just
Shake this.
the first question is editorial or red carpet.
Red carpet.
Red carpet.
Yeah, it's a more immediate, like you get the reward real fast.
Yes.
Yes.
Los Angeles, New York.
Both. I think they each have their like appeal
Yeah.
for sure.
Okay. Celeb placement or magazine mention?
Both. Both. I think they yes, both.
So men and women's brands or accessories and beauty?
Men's and women's, I think it's a little bit more creative than the accessories and beauty areas are a little
Yeah.
condensed.
It's kind of tricky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the last one, do you prefer fashion shows or presentations?
Fashion.
Fashion
Yeah.
shows. Wait.
Fashion shows.
Yeah, fashion shows.
Yes, I mean, they're so magical.
Yeah.
The last one I saw was the Valentino Couture show. I don't know if you guys saw it.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Tears.
Yeah.
Oh my God, like the way everything.
My heart was like pounding. I was like, what is
every
this? Like,
single look coming
yes,
down
like
is
bam,
like,
bam. It was really good. It was really, really good. So that wraps up this episode of The DM, where we had an interview with fashion publicist Mike Vargas. Mike, thank you so much for being
Thank you,
here.
Barb, for having
This
me.
was awesome.
You'll find links to Mike's social media in the description box below, and make sure that you follow, subscribe, rate, and
Like.
bye.
Bye. If you enjoyed the show, please introduce your friends to our work, rate, review, like, and follow. Check us out on thedm.net or on Instagram at Audrey Brianne and at Tyree Style.
A special thank you to Nearby Sound for our theme song. The DM is produced by Joe Passarelli, Audrey Brianne, and Tyree.
Boom.